Hello and welcome to our friends, supporters and panelists, viewers of the Cricket Show USA, zooming and showing youtube.com at Cricket Show streaming live. We thank you for being with us on this platform, and we hope that you will enjoy the show and come back again next time. This show is being recorded and it is also, as I said, streaming live on YouTube. Normally at this time, we have Leon, who we would ask to give the invocation, but in Leon's absence, I know he has delegated another one of our panelists who hasn't logged in yet. So while we wait, I will just give some brief outline of the program as we're expecting. Between 6:15, or we'll have our usual announcement, followed by the Coach's Corner with Jatin Patel, cricket discussion of our mindfulness series. This is week 5 of the mindfulness series based on the Winning Strokes book by Michael Chambers, who's one of our guest panelists here tonight. And approximately following the mindfulness series, we have the birthday anniversary celebrations with Audley Watson. And at 7:30-ish, the Focus Commission for Equity cricket report presented by Myrtrice Nesbitt, followed by our cricket scores. And we have many scores currently out there, including the India-Australia series, South Africa, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, New Zealand, Afghanistan, in Zimbabwe, and the Bangladesh Premier League. But that will be likely, we will have some more scores. What we don't get to finish in the first half, we will pick up in the second half of the series. However, it's time for us to look into our mindfulness series week 5. And as many of you know who's been following, we've had 4 weeks of this series. This week, I will ask Coach to give us a recap perhaps, and I'll begin regarding imaginations. Coach, athletes who exercise imaginations benefit in 2 ways. First is imagine role play to act out scenarios in the make of. Then second, you have the make-believe scenarios are developed as actual reality. So can you explain to us how the imagination scenarios produce excellent performance in real match play situations?
Process is a simple. We have to understand the imagination itself.
Can you give us some more volume, please, Coach?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
This is the maximum we can get. Yep. So in a simplest way, I will say imagination is nothing but a creative ability to create a sensation. Means you are creating a scene, you are creating an environment, you are creating an atmosphere, you may be creating a condition based on what you hear, what you see, or what you experiencing, all sort of things, or maybe you are watching video and getting into it. What it does is technically it's put you in a moment which is not happening in a reality, but you are expecting to be in that sort of moment. And that's called a kind of preparation. You are sending all the signals to your mind without any immediate senses or input, because you're already getting from some others. For example, if you are going to rough pitches, and if you have the senior player in the team, they give you some advice, they give you some feedback. They may give you some critics, constructive comment to you to improve. And based on that, you are going through like a flashback. What exactly happened? What errors you made? Why you did not do right? And then you have this input, so you are creating the other way. Imagination, the word itself says, means you are drawing a picture in your own mind. You are creating that senses. And on from that development, you are putting your plan in place, how to deal with it or what to do it, right? In most cases, we are expecting more of a listening abilities or maybe a watching videos. These are the two forms of communication or input we are expecting in imagination process. I can give you one example. If your coach is training you to sprint 100 yards, if you haven't competed with Usain Bolt or you haven't seen him, let's say, your coach will give you a lot of information how Usain Bolt has won those all gold medals by sprinting those 100 yards in around 9.5 seconds. Again, you haven't seen it, you haven't run with him, but coach is giving you the idea what speed can be. So that's the one thing you can take it in mind when you are sprinting 100 yards. And then you can set your benchmark. Hey, I need to get there around 9.5 seconds. That's a record. The another part is the second one we call a videotape. Let's say nobody told you, but it says show you 5 sprints, which was worth of those gold medals for Jamaica for Usain Bolt. You can watch and analyze. Now, either you listen, hear, or you can say just watch. You are imagining yourself, what it can be if you have to sprint with Usain Bolt. It gives you heads up idea to prepare for that challenge. And that is the biggest thing imagination is all about. Improving your game based on the information and input you receive before going into the actual moment or facing the reality. And I will ask the Mr. Michael Chambers to put some more input behind this term called imagination. I give you 2 examples, but he may have a different view and explanation. So, Sir Michael, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Imagination. I believe when God created us, he placed that construct in man so that we could link to him. Imagination. Anything you can imagine, if you're a cricketer and you're a batsman and you're going to bat, you know you're going to bat the next day. If you go to bed and you imagine all the shots that you are going to play tomorrow when the ball is pitched a certain way to you, you are the batsman or you're a bowler. I am going to bowl all my 6 balls every over outside the off stump. But you make a plan and you imagine that plan. You build pictures into your brain, into your subconscious. You will be able to do anything that you imagine. But here is the trick. You're not going to be successful at imagining if you don't practice. There's no way you're going to bowl the ball outside the off stump if at some time during your lifetime you don't go to the cricket field and actually bowl the balls outside the off stump. You're a batsman. You're not going to be able to make runs, make shots if you don't go to the field and practice. You cannot practice for 5 minutes and believe that you're going to bat for 2 hours in a test match or in a T20 game. Whatever you practice, coach says it every time he talks. Practice does not make perfect. Practice makes permanent. If what you're practicing is perfect, then you become perfect in what you practice. So imagination is like visualization. So visualization uses the art of imagination to create what you want to do. So yes, you can beat us. It's just that we have not been practicing what we preach. Any player can, I will give you an example. I spoke with one Natasha McLean one Saturday night. She called me up 2 o'clock in the morning. She was in St. Kitts playing a game and she was having trouble focusing. And I was in Hartford, Connecticut. And I bowled to Natasha. She was in St. Kitts. I bowled in her visualization, watching me. She could see me. I told her, close your eyes and imagine me bowling to you. And I bowled certain balls to her. And I can report that in the next match that Sunday, she made 50 runs. You can imagine anything you want and accomplish it, but you have to do it. Practice it. Shadow batting, they call it, shadow bowling, but you have to practice. So that is, I totally agree with what you said, Coach. I was just adding that little piece to imagination.
Dennis, you need to admit.
Yes, my apologies. My apologies. I'm just on the phone right now with Leon. And Leon is just reporting to me some unfortunate news. And I will wait for a while, see if we can get some more confirmation before I share it with you. Okay? All right, so I'll get back to you. Now, I must say to you that I'm somewhat remiss because I did not introduce the Coach's Corner at the start of the program. So let me take this opportunity to introduce the Coach's Corner. The Cricket Show USA, the Cricket Hall of Fame USA, and the American Cricket Education Council, ACEC, is pleased to welcome the weekly joint collaborative broadcast of the Coach's Corner. The objective of the Coach's Corner is to provide coaching education and expert views, information, oral and practical assistance while helping to educate those who are seeking to understand and to become actively involved in the sport of cricket, nationally and internationally. The segment of the Coach's Corner generally run from about 6:15 p.m., 6:15 to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and features Jatin Patel, Cricket Hall of Famer, multi-sport coach, administrator, and director of the Cricket Hall of Fame. And I offer my apologies for not making the introduction earlier, but as you can see, we are having some interruptions and bad news. Anyway, I will proceed. Coach, in this recap session, mindfulness training and meditation will have a positive impact on the performance of athletes. Repeat for us how this approach with simple medication technique, how does it work?
Well, the first and foremost, I will say first step to begin with in terms of the mindfulness, which is helping you to have proper mindset. But with this so many things happening around you, within your thought process, it makes very difficult for the proper mindset. So the mindfulness is the process which helps you to establish the proper mindset or maintain the mindset or improve the mindset. So in other words, it's a very powerful and the strong approach to understand mindful to do better, whether it's a sport or whether it's a normal life. So with that said, we all carry and understand that we all carry two sides of the thought process. One is a conscious, another is a subconscious. Means we are carrying so much information which creates the confusion sometimes. And most of the time, any individual as a human being, we are more concerned about what we do next with the initial negative thoughts comes in your head, which creates worry of outcome and fear of failure. Now it's impossible, or there is not a simple thing to say that you can stay away from all distractions and all this negative thought process and you can become a great personality in a matter of overnight, where you can shut down all those negativity and concerns and failing thoughts you may have, because it's not easy to do it. So that is the part. The first thing first is, can we make that thought process engine nullify, means absolutely not going, either a blank or empty your memory, I will say. So we can start from scratch. And to do so, the meditation has established spiritually for more than 5,000 years, where you can stay away and try to block all those senses, the 5 physical senses, as well as 6th sense, which is the thought process. Can we shut them off and make it 0? And then whatever the mindfulness knowledge you carry, expert you are, or experience you may have, you can start properly by thinking and putting action in plan. And that's how it can help. It's absolutely difficult. This mindfulness is not some tool, is not a handy tool which you can just grab it and use it because we say so. It's a practice. You have to implement, you have to start, and it's all belong to you. It takes longer, sometimes few days, few months, few years, but if you are good enough to think about it, and if you are committed with some desire to do well, yes, you can do it. And because of that, we put too much pressure. The mindfulness is a very important process, we call it, to have mindset. Anything else, Mr. Chambers, like to add?
No, you said it all. Mindfulness simply is staying in the moment, the present moment. You're not thinking about what you're going home to eat. You're not thinking about what you ate for breakfast. You're at the wicket and you're thinking about the next ball coming. You look around the field, you see where the players are. You look at the bowler coming up. So you are mindful of your environment. And you get to mindfulness through the process of meditation. So you start learning meditation. We tell folks, practice 5 minutes meditation every day. And then you go up 10 minutes. Then you go, then you keep going till your whole day is spent meditating. and you are good at it, once you master the art of meditation, then mindfulness, visualization, and emotional intelligence will now become easy tools to use to create success in your life.
In the brief, I can add the little thing here. Mindfulness is all about improving your decision-making process, which is needed in the game all the time, in every moment. While you are going in this moment, is all about living in that particular moment without fear or worry about the outcome and do the right thing. And that is where it's helping. The second side, we all know that mind controls the body. So we need to start controlling the mind. And that is where meditation is the easiest, quickest, and only perfectly adopted process. As I said, for more than 5,000 years, you can't go wrong with it. And the people who does that has a better success, better performances, and improved personalities in this sports world.
Thank you there, Coach. Now let's look deeper into the subject. Researchers say that the state of anxiety is the alarm system that warns of danger. There are two components to the anxiety situations here. First, the mental or the cognitive feeling. And second, the physiological, the heart rate, the blood pressure, the somatic component. Please explain the anxiety processes, if you could, for us, Coach.
It's definitely anxiety is the biggest concern when the things doesn't go your way. Everyone as a human being carries some expectation. We have dreams, we have goals, we have some hopes, as well as a desire to do something. And when you see that you don't succeed or you fail to gain that achievements, you turn into the anxiety. The anxiety has a two direct impact, as you already mentioned, but I can say one is the visible to the world, which means you are doing something. We call it your body language tells others what you're carrying in terms of anxiety. Means there is a physical part of the body is being to display in terms of reaction, what is going through in your mind. And the another part where you say is staying in your mind only, which is invisible to outside world, right? The other way you say the mental part is, they call it cognitive. It stays inside, but it's boiling within yourself without any physical, I will say, exposure to the someone else, where the physical part, which is they call it somatic, it's basically happening with your emotion and momentum you carry because of that situation, like a sweating, breathing hard time to breathe, hard time to speak, you slowing down yourself. There are a lot of things can happen. But to control the anxiety or to avoid this situation is a heavily rely on what experience and expertise you carry to deal with it or cope with that particular issue or situation. In other words, if you know what's going through, I can give you one simple example rather than talking the other way. Nowadays, we see plenty of youngsters all over the world, let's say. It does not matter what level of game they play. They are all dreaming the big. to be part of the T20 franchise one day and make money. And they are going through that dream. By the way, sports is all about dream and hope. So there's nothing wrong with it. But they are carrying the expectation to do it in a quick time without much work. And unfortunately, there are more situations I can see that limited number of youngsters are getting opportunity to play at the next level or higher level. So others who are carrying some dream, hope, and expectations are getting disappointed. So what they start doing it in terms of the anxiety is they're getting frustrated, anger, all sort of things. And they start talking about the blame, blaming on somebody. At the same time, believe it or not, what I have seen is they are comparing their own individual performances and numbers to the others who got success or achievement to go higher. He did that, I'm better than him, but he got opportunity, I don't. The other way around, to avoid or eliminate this situation is the player need to think on their own how you can get better or improve and compare that player who got the opportunity. The other way, why don't we perform and improve our numbers to prove it rather than we keep argue and blame? So that's a one scenario or the situation where we can see anxiety. Everyone carries that. And to be honest with is all about, if you know why it's happening, what is going through, and it's why happening, then I will say you have to be strong enough to deal with it. If I'm not selected at the national level, it's not the last opportunity. It may have been my first opportunity to be selected for the national squad. You have to open up yourself. You miss the chance. You miss the opportunity. But that's not the end of the world. Now, that is the moment we need to start working positive way. I missed it for a little or whatever the gap is with your competitors or other players who are in a similar skill set. For example, batter, medium pacer, wicket keeper. We have so many skill set in the game. What we're competing for is important. And if you carry the right mindfulness, then you can avoid this anxiety or prevent it and work on an improvement plan to be strong enough, more confident, and you can start for the goal, which I can go, or you can go with the commitment, with the desire to achieve. I think you can target, hey, next year I'll be better than this year, and I want to make sure that I qualify. So those are the thought process. Anxiety is easy to have anyone, but to limit, prevent, or avoid, it's a strong challenge, and it can be only happens if you carry the mindfulness.
Thank you, Coach. Mr. C, Mr. Chambers, can you add to the past discussion there?
Let me just try another angle. Philippians 4:6 in the Bible tells you that be anxious for nothing. So don't let anything trip you up. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God. So the question is, who is God? See? And if you think back, it says we are made in the image and likeness of God. So we are little gods. So if something is bothering you, we have what God gave us, the breath. So if anxiety, you feel anxiety coming on, and what is anxiety? It's a mental state where you are bothered. You start getting, like Coach says, you're getting irritable. Something is not going right. And you're starting to lose your composure. It's easy. Reach out to God. Take deep breath. You bring him in and you let him out. And you bring him in and you let him out. And at some point in time, you will cool down your blood pressure and your anxiety level will subside. But anxiety is controlled by conscious deep breathing. So that's my little piece to add to that.
Thank you so much. And let me remind our viewers, listeners, if they have any questions or queries on the subject, please send us an email to media@cricketshow.org, media@cricketshow.org, or you can send it to the Cricket Show at comcast.net, the Cricket Show at comcast.net. Any questions you have, we will endeavor to respond to them in one of our subsequent programs. Coach Scott Everett, a fitness trainer and mindset specialist, believes that training to overcome mental blocks is more important than physical training. How do you train to overcome mental blocks, and why is this more important than physical training?
It's a clearly explanation I can say is mind controls the body. So what you're carrying with the mood and emotions will reflect. So it does not matter how much work you work hard. I think I covered this simple explanation in the past, where this mental and physical part works together and why it's important to prepare the mind. Means mentally. I can give you one example. I can see that snow is heavy right now. Unfortunately, I'm looking at 6 to 10 inches of snow in next 24 hours, the weather-wise. It's happening first time in last 10 years. Right mood, right? By the time I go sleep, or you try this one, a lot of times it's happening. We think about it before the sleep. I'm going to go sleep. I'm going to wake up 6 o'clock in the morning. And let's go for the jogging, maybe for an hour, where I can take maybe 4 to 5 miles jog. Now that's a good. You planned for it. Your mind is thinking right. But when you wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, if it is a cloudy, snowy, heavy weather, before you get up from the bed, your mind is getting lazy. No, I want to sleep it over. I want to take some extra time before I get up. What happens here? You think about something, you plan about something, but all of a sudden this thing is not working. So my point in this example, planning is right. You did it okay. Failing to plan means planning to fail. You did okay. But you did not execute the plan accordingly when you're trying to getting up. That is the moment you need to execute the plan. So what it failed? Your body was right there. You had the same body when you wake up, when you went sleep. Nothing has changed overnight. Your mind changes, the mental part. And it decides, okay, I'm not going to run right away. I'm not even going to get up from the bed right away.
Thank you.
So it's a very simple example why mental is more important and needed before the physical part. Number two, the mental sets the tone. or the foundation work for you, whether you're talking about self-confidence, whether you're talking about devotion, whether you are talking about commitment, whether you're talking about dedicated work, or you are ready to take the daring, the last thing I can say, the challenge, the risk you want to take. Who decides? Not your body, it's your mind. So in the sport, training mind and having a mental fitness, strength, toughness, whatever you call, it becomes very important over technical and tactical abilities you carry. So the trainers at the professional level, they put more work towards mindset training through the mindfulness over the practical training. Because the practical part, technical part, or your physical body part will definitely work what mind wants to do with you. So anything you set in a mind, as mind controls the body, it will work. So anything else, Sir Michael Chambers, want to add to that?
Well, not much more, just a little subset. They are now saying that we have two brains, one in the head and one in your stomach, where the one in the stomach is where you get the butterflies. You ever hear people say, boy, I feel so nervous, I have butterflies. That's your other stomach. That's your stomach working as your other brain. And they are saying now that the brain is an organ. So just like your muscles and you have to exercise to get those in shape, you have to exercise your brain to get it in shape. Now, it makes no sense you visualize running, you visualize winning the lotto, and you go through the motions. You're going to buy the car, you're going to buy Coach a nice house, you're going to buy Dennis another house, and you're going to give Mike a new Cricket Hall of Fame, and you plan on spending this lot of money. But guess what? You didn't buy a lotto ticket. So that is how the brain works. If you don't exercise the brain, so like Coach says, the brain controls all the other muscles. So if all the other muscles are fit and ready to run 100 yards like Usain Bolt, but your brain is not thinking about running 100 yards like Usain Bolt, it's thinking garbage, then you're in trouble. So that's why they're saying that it's very important that you exercise or learn how to do mind power training, train your mind. Yeah.
Thank you, Coach. And let me say a quiet welcome to Hyacinth and Myrtrice and Dale, who has joined us. And we will just continue along the same way. Remind listeners, viewers, this is the Cricket Show USA, and we are very happy for you that you have joined us. An athlete can be mentally fit, but physically lacking. How do you synchronize the mental and the physical components of the athlete's performance?
Good question, sir. But did I hear the Mr. Chambers' word that you have to do a brain exercise? Because that is the part of the body carries all these instruction, action, reaction, emotions, moods, everything is coming from there, from that thought process. So I will say you got to put mindfulness is a training for the brain fitness the other way. Means if you want to train the brain, start practicing mindfulness. Then you have to adopt or accept or implement those processes that includes emotional intelligence, imagination, visualization, and avoid or prevent failures from those, lot of distractions which can put you in fear factor and those. So first thing first is mind need to be trained. Once you train the mind, then the body comes as a next. You want to run 4 miles, let's say, for example, in let's say 30 minutes, which is good speed in terms of the soccer world. The young high school kids usually put in benchmark by the coaches like, hey, if you want to make team, you have to finish 4 miles without water break and stoppage in 30 minutes. That's a good marking. Some kids run really nice. Some may go extra few minutes. But mind need to be prepared first to achieve what is the goal is. Here in this example, we are looking at 4-mile run in 30 minutes. You have to start working on it. First is a mind, how strong you are to set that benchmark as a goal to achieve. And then you're putting body in place, no doubt. Body itself, the physical body, is not going to follow your mind without it's their own need, which is also food, nutrition, exercise, practice, all follows. I will not say mind alone can help you, but the mind can definitely guide the physical body also to prepare for that challenge or to meet your goals. And that is the where it stands. There is no way when the mind and body work together, you can expect failure or disappointments. Impossible. But again, you have to practice and prepare for that challenge. So the physical side itself is not good enough. Believe it or not, in any situation, the physical fitness comes as a secondary over the mental fitness. The reason for that, I can simply explain to you. You are ready. You are good to go. But what happens if you are not fit? And that is how we look at it as a normal human being. But have you seen a 10 or 12-year-old kid when they are getting trained with the leather ball, maybe first time or at initial stage, and when they are preparing for the pad, gloves, and helmet, they are scared to go to the wicket. They're feeling that fear. What happens if I go there and ball hits me? Now remember here, the difference is right there. You got the body, you got every gear you need, you are safe, but mind is not ready. So that is, we can say both needed. I will not say just mind, but have to be concerned about, make sure mind is prepared first, properly, and that can achieve many things. Yes, body will follow the mind and then train the body to meet that goal or the things you want to achieve.
Thank you, Coach. Mr. Chambers, anything to add to that synchronicity? I know it's something you often talk about. So how do you synchronize the mental and the physical components of athletes' performance?
Well, the premise is success is 20% talent, physical training, 80% mental, 20% talent and training your body, but 80% training your mind. If you can live up to that standard, to that number of going to the gym, getting your work done, but coming home and mentally preparing yourself by doing your meditations and your acclamation. I am the greatest cricketer in the world, and you keep telling yourself those things. I'm going to make 100 runs when I get to bat tomorrow. You talk to yourself, self-talk, observe yourself, self-observation. Those are a number of things that are necessary to create a champion. It's not just running out there like coach said. You give the kid all the protective gear, you give them everything. But then when they're walking out to bat, they're scared because they're not mentally prepared. And that is what is happening, and I might as well say, to the West Indies team. Pooran can make 100 runs every time he walks to the wicket. But I bet you if you walk up to Pooran and you say to him, you're a great cricketer, he's going to shake his head and say, no, man, you have cricketers greater than me. No. You have to learn to say, I am the greatest. Nobody is, even when you're not performing, you have to tell yourself that. Because the joke is, the conscious mind tells the subconscious mind that Chambers is saying he's the greatest cricketer. And we know Chambers can't bat. But what will happen is that the conscious mind and the subconscious mind will now start talking to Chambers and saying to him, you have to go to practice. You cannot bat if you don't go to practice. And so they will get Chambers now to go to the nets and go on the field, start training, and all of a sudden Chambers is making 100 runs. That's what people like Pooran need. Because when he plays in the IPL, where there is a lot of money, see, if he don't make runs, he's not coming back to the IPL. But when he comes to the West Indies, if he don't make any runs, they're going to bring him back because they don't have anybody as good as him. So therein lies the mind power, and the physical training has to go together. You have to have coaches who understand that. Spend more time at the blackboard teaching the players than actually have them batting and bowling and fielding.
Thank you, Mr. Chambers.
I can add two great examples for West Indies in terms of this mindset. The first one I know very well. It's Sir Alvin Kallicharran. His test debut at his home ground, Georgetown, Guyana, against New Zealand. You can check the record. I believe he came at number 6 or 7 and scored the century. In front of him, he has a seniors, legendary batsmen, but he still came out as a late middle order and they scored the century. That's a huge, it's a belief. I can do better than others. The confidence you carry, and he had a desire to do well, and he was committed to play on that day. That's a one moment. Second moment, very similar story, but it's in a bowling. When Sir Courtney Walsh of Jamaica took the West Indies team, I believe it was the first test. I think it's against Sri Lanka. He wasn't opening bowler. He wasn't an opener on the other end. He wasn't the first change. He wasn't the second change. He was the 5th bowler introduced in that inning. Guess what? He took the 5 wicket, not the other front 4 bowlers. Now, these are the 2 examples I love to give. Ali, young, talented kid. You set the tone. You set the mind. Just like Chambers says, you respect all legends. You respect everyone, what they have done. But when it comes to you, you have to carry that self-confidence that you are unique, you are on your own, and you got to be better than others. We are not trying to copy what they have done. We are not trying to match the numbers what they have. But if you have desire and hungry to do well, which you have to set in a mindset, it's achievable. With those two examples, I give it to you. How many others has done that kind of miracle or angel show, sometimes we call it. It takes a lot to do something which can go in the record books. It's not easy. But one thing I can definitely say behind it is they had a strong mindset with full mindfulness.
Thank you very much there, Coach. And echoes of Mr. Chambers' words saying, I am the greatest, reminds us of one of the most loudly proclaimed, I am the greatest, fame, Muhammad Ali. And of course, he told us he was the greatest. He performed like the greatest. And from the day he started proclaiming those words, I am the greatest, until the day he left this world, he was regarded as the greatest. So there's truly words of wisdom in the statement there. Look at emotional intelligence, Coach, in sport promotes the idea that athletes tend to struggle with staying in the present during competition by allowing their thoughts to drift. Now, failing to stay in the present, is this considered a mental block or is it something else?
Definitely it's a mental, as you say, is emotional, means emotion, where it's carried out from the thought process inside the brain. And that is the where if you are lacking, you are drifting, or you are losing momentum, or losing that thought process because of the other concerns or distractions, the all can impact your decision-making process. We, in a normal term for the youth cricketer, we term this particular moment as a under pressure. Let's say you are losing. It happens. Even in international cricket, even the professional, the legendary cricketers fail in a certain situation because of the game situation or the psychological situation the player has to carry in the game. But in that moment, when your emotional change is not with you to execute proper activity or action or function, that is failure stance. Where you say emotional intelligence means in that particular moment, the three things is definitely needed. First, you need to know in what situation you are. That is 100%. Immediately after that, you should have enough loaded information through mindfulness, I will say. So you are ready to prepare to get out of that situation, or you can escape from this situation, or you can deal with that situation. And the third most important is your executive function. You got information, tons of what is the proper thing you can do in that particular moment to escape or avoid. That's a huge challenge. And that is the where this emotional intelligence is becoming more powerful. Now it can improve only one way. There is no practice, there is no tools, there is no guidebooks. Practice mindfulness. And that is the where you can improve or you can increase your power in a both, as far as the mindset as well as the decision-making process.
Thank you, Coach. Mr. Chambers, mental block or failing to stay in the moment. Which is it? Why is it? How is it? Can you give us some more on that?
Well, it's everything we've been talking about. It's practice. There is the Holy Ghost cannot do anything or bring. It says that the Holy Ghost will bring back to you information. What that is saying is any information you have in your subconscious mind, the Holy Ghost can find it and bring it back to you. If you don't have information in your subconscious mind, the Holy Ghost is going to be at a loss trying to find something to bring back. So this is the same thing with us. As cricketers, if we don't practice our trade, practice makes permanent. So we have to know shots. We have to play. That you spoke about Alvin Kalicharan, coach, and he would tell you that he would play all his games the night before he walked to the wicket. So any ball that is pitched at him, he has already played it in his dream. So this is where we're saying all these pieces come together. In mindfulness, it's just keeping you in the moment. Emotional intelligence, it's mostly for the captains of a team. Emotional intelligence. You have to know yourself, what turn you on, and you have to know what turn coach on. If we're going to play a game, and I see coach coming crying, I must, as a captain, know that I have to go over and say, coach, what's wrong today? I have to find out. So you have to know your players and know their emotions. And you say, oh boy, Donna is not looking good. Matrice, she look like she hasn't had dinner yet. We can't call on her. Brother Dale is fast asleep, coming to the wicket, but he's tired. So emotional intelligence, you have to know your intelligence, and then you have to know how your players are feeling, the people around you in your environment. So all these pieces come together. There's no one piece that make it work. We have to learn everything. And the key is not reading the book. The key is practice what you read. It's very important. Practice, the everyday practice as you go along.
All right.
I love to throw this example for the youngsters or any cricketer out there. This is like a blend of all things we are talking here in mindfulness. This is about Brian Charles Lara. He's a little bit on and off in terms of playing after he retired. He spent some time with golf. Sometimes he comes with cricket commentary and some other roles. But I think 3-4 years back, he had an opportunity to play one Legend League or something in India. And someone sent me a message that Mr. Brian Lara on the ground, padded up, gloves, by the way, not in the net, but on the side of the net, he is holding the bat with his upper hand only. And he is playing like a front foot shots with that geared up situation. Again, no one was delivering ball, no one was pitching ball, but he was practicing in the same stroke with his upper hand couple of times. Many times I would say 10, 15 minutes, what it is. If you put together imagination, visualization, this emotional intelligence all in place, because he was maybe a little bit off the routine practice. He's trying to catch up with it because he knows when he goes next day at the senior age and he has to bat, he knows that he's going to need his upper arm back in a business. So what he practiced, not facing balls, not running between wickets, not hitting hard the ball, he is getting into that shape so he can carry that confidence next day to bat on.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Coach. Thank you, Mr. Chambers. We have arrived at the end of this segment. So I want to thank you both for your insights, your knowledge, and your experience. And we invite you to join us again next week at the same time right here on the Cricket Show USA. There is no doubt that Coach and Mr. Chambers have answers to the questions that you have been asking. The question that says, how did he do that? Or why did he do that? Maybe next time you will say, I am going to do that. And one of Coach's last word was, or was it Mr. Chambers that said, you must read the book? And I believe at the start of our series, we did suggest that the book content will be made available for download at no
It is already
cost.
out there at Cricket Mindset, Cricket Hall of Fame site, Cricket Source site. It's under the Mindset, and you can download book anytime.
So it's available on our website. Please go to the website and you can download the book. And as Mr. Chambers said, read the book and then practice what you read. This is very, very important. Thank you, gentlemen. And of course, I appreciate your being with us. Now, I have to say that I'm somewhat not perhaps presenting things up to what I would consider top of the standard. And that's because if you look closely enough, you will see tears. I am at a loss to explain that we've just had some sad news of one of our panelists. We have just heard that one of our panelists has passed away suddenly, unexpectedly, and one whom we've had plenty of discussions with, a panelist who later than 3 days prior, we were on a program together discussing the new year, the new wishes, the dreams, the goals, and what we're hoping and wishing for. And to see that 3 days later, we are told that he has no longer been part of this world. We will no longer hear his cheerful voice presenting to us the less serious items we deal with on this program. Audley Watson presented our birthdays and anniversaries, and he has been a stalwart of this show for more than 14 years. And it is very grieving because less than a week ago on this show, we heard his boisterous voice. And 3 days ago, we also were in discussion, in talking. We were on another program and wishing each other a wonderful and happy new year. So I crave your pardon if you detect that perhaps we're not going well for this one today. I tried to be strong, but it is not very easy at a time like this. And so I ask for your prayers and your thoughts for the family of Audley Watson. He was busy telling us of his upcoming birthdays 2 days from now, and his daughter's birthday, which had just passed, and how he was going to be celebrating his daughter's birthday. And, perhaps I can ask, maybe other panelists, if they wish at this time, to say a word or two about this sad news that we have just heard. And please don't be shy. You know, we loved him. And that's one of the reasons why it is so very hard for me. And I know it might be hard for you too, but please be brave. And the floor is open for anyone who may wish to say something.
I will start with this is a sad moment. We can pray for him and his family while they're going through this toughest time to deal with it. I will say, rest in peace, and our prayers will be with him. When I joined this show 7 years back, when they invited me, all I remember is besides Leon Francis as a president, Iowa Henry, Virgil Francis, and Arlie Watson is like a 4 pillars of this cricket show. No doubt today have more panelists and more viewers, listeners, and more anchors, to be honest with you. But carrying this show for 14 years and giving man his commitment to show up every Sunday, it was a lot for all of us. Believe it or not, everyone who joins the cricket show or coming on regular basis, we have formed like a family. It's a brotherhood for us. So when you lose one of the panelists, we definitely feel like we lost a family member. So we'll definitely keep you updated on behalf of the cricket show. Going forward, we will try to pass on every possible detail at thecricketshow.org as well as in this show, including sewing and funeral. And we plan to carry more details. And before we bring more details, I will let the floor open to others to say their thoughts.
Beatrice, do you wish to say anything? And we know, we recognize that it's not easy, but we'll take it.
Yes, I just got the news also, and it was very devastating because I couldn't believe I had to ask if who Audley, not our Audley, you know, because we were just speaking to him like Wednesday, and he was upbeat, happy, and we had a good time on the radio. But for the 14 years that we've been on this show, I'd just like to say he was a very good person. He was funny. You could hold a conversation with him and you could talk and talk and talk and you don't even know time is going. And he just make you laugh. Sometimes his jokes are so dry. I mean, like, it's so funny. But I just want to say to the family that my mom and I, sending our sincere sympathy and condolences to the family, and may God wrap these warm arms around them and comfort them in their time of grief. And to the panelists, we've lost a great man. And so we want y'all to keep him in your prayers. And that's it. Keep family in the prayers and everything. I don't know what else to say right now.
No, but we appreciate what you have said because we all feel and share the same sentiments. Donna, are you brave enough?
Yes, I'm here trying. Yes, I am here trying to regain my composure. I don't want to show my face,
Yeah.
so I'll just say what I have to say.
Mhm.
I'm really at a loss for words because it's just this morning I said, oh my, I was supposed to send these birthdays to Audley. And I remembered today. And when I sent them on, and I didn't realize that he didn't see them yet, I was wondering, well, how come he didn't pick up? How come he didn't pick up on the birthdays yet? Only to hear this sad news tonight. I'm at a shock. I'm at a loss. We have lost a stalwart. And I must say, I'm going to miss Audley on the show because he's very humorous and he keeps us laughing. So I'm going to miss him.
Yes, we are.
Condolences to all of the family, all of us on the cricket show, to everyone who knew Audley. He was very humorous and he was a good man.
He's a good man.
That's all I have to say for now.
Appreciate it, Donna. It says a great deal to us. Virgil?
Yeah, good afternoon. I just turned on, and when I heard Mr. Patel talking, I was just shocked, and my heart just up until now, and I can tell the truth, my heart is just beating fast, and I can't really say nothing because I'm in just a shock because I did not expect that. I did not thought he was talking about something else, but then when I was listening to him, it just emotion, and I just want to say my condolence. I'm just in a shock, and I will just listen because my heart is beating fast because I did not expect to come on the show and hear something like that.
All right. Well, we appreciate your comment, and of course, we all share your thoughts and ideas. The floor is still open. Anyone else wishes to speak? Let's do that before we see if we can get into a semblance of the rest of the show.
Let me just bring condolences from the Cricket Hall of Fame all the way up here in Coal Country. It was funny a couple weeks ago, or more than a couple weeks. We were on this platform, and I told Brother Virgil and I told Brother Audley I was coming to Florida for the US Open, and I would love to see them. And so the first person I ran into at the US Open was Brother Virgil. And the next day, Brother Ivor, I heard these guys commentating in the box, and I knew I heard Brother Audley's voice, and I said, but he said he wasn't coming today. And then at the end of the day, Brother Ivor and Brother Audley came downstairs, and we met, and we had a good chat, and we had a good laugh. So it's a shock tonight, you know, to hear that Brother Audley has gone on to greener pastures. He's gone on to someplace better. So we have to say, we can't figure out what God has in his plans for each one of us, you know, because he's still a young fellow. He still could do another 20 years, but God knows best. So my condolences from the Cricket Hall of Fame, and may his soul rest in peace.
Thank you, Mr. Chambers. And Brother Junior Codlin has just joined us. I'm not sure if he was able to pick up on what has transpired.
Yeah,
Yes, you have heard the sad news of the passing, unexpectedly so, of one of our panelists, Audley Watson.
yeah. Audley's the one that used to do the birthdays.
That's correct.
Yeah, I and him had a very, very good relationship, and it's because I heard the news just now, you know, because I was in another meeting, I had to jump out and come on to share my deepest condolence. And you know, my prayers are with you, the cricket show, the president, and all the staff and members. My deepest condolence to all of you. You know, we'll be sending out a statement on that tomorrow. But once again, my deepest condolence, and you know, such is life, and it's what we've been talking about, that you are here today, but tomorrow you are gone. So let us do all the good we can do while we are alive. And so, because it's the life we live, that's what speaks after. May God rest his soul. And on behalf of my academy and all that I am associated with, we share our deepest condolence to you all.
Thank you so much. We appreciate those kind words, Mr. Codlin. And certainly, Hyacinth, I'm sure you might have something.
Yeah, I said, like Virgil, I can't believe it. My heart is just beating. You know, Leandro sent something, and I saw the picture, but I didn't know what it was until Mr. Patel just said, "Oh my Lord, what can I say? I'm lost for words." I just want to say my deepest sympathy to all the family, to his family, and to the Cricket Show family. We've missed someone. He's someone, you know, only known for a couple of years. But, you know, as Murtry says, he makes you smile. And, you know, he's always sort of, sort of the one who knows when he says anything and says, I'll say, what did Audley say? Yes, I'll go so, because he seems the man with the information I need. And so he will be greatly missed, but we'll have so much to, when you can smile when someone's died, you can be crying and smiling at the same time. It means that it is a good person. He was a good person. So he will be remembered for lots and lots of good things. So let us just continue to hold the family, all the family, Cricket family and his family in our prayers. May he rest in peace.
I appreciate it so very much, Hyacinth. Obviously, as Coach Patel said, he was one of the family to us in cricket, but nonetheless, he endeared himself so much deep into our consciousness, into our family, been together for so many years together. Even though I am a later joining the Cricket Show that compared to Audley's, it felt as if I've known him all my life, because he had that type of personality that endears itself deep into your own heart. I see Brother Dale. I'm not sure if he has anything to say before we turn out. Brother Dale? No. And Hal?
I can add one more thing, Dennis. In other respect, besides as a loving brother, he was one of the founding members of this cricket show. Iowa, Audley, and Leon are, as far as I know, who started this show way back in 2010. And most of us joined them later on at some stage, some point, and carry on this loving environment, I call it, where we enjoy meeting each other every weekend. And not about just passion of cricket, but we are close in the family ties too, because to me, as I said, in last 7 years, I'm on and off, some point, sometime, but in touch with almost every panelist we have through the phone and some other communication to stay updated with what's going on in family and in our own personal health, because that's another issue. We are almost, everyone here is 50 and up, most of them, I will say. And it's a concern where we can find and fight against this biggest challenge of this senior living. It's called a loneliness. Believe it or not, that is the toughest challenge besides whatever we do. And Audley used to give a lot of good jokes and things and talks about where we can tie up and keep busy ourselves to look into the positive side.
Right. Yes. Yes. And we always remember his final parting words at the end of each show. some good piece of advice that he's managed to call from somewhere to cheer us on and to help us to bring us move forward. And to know that gone, I don't know if he can ever be, his space can ever be filled by anyone, but for cricket, we will continue to move forward and always have him in our mind, thoughts and prayers. And no doubt, maybe somewhere down the road, the cricket show will be able to put together something in the form of some type of a memorial or remembrance of Audley Watson's. And I've just been sent a photograph that I've seen of Audley Watson in a picture with the great Sir Vivian Richards. So it just goes to show how much his life revolved around cricket as well as his family for so many years. All right, Dale, if you're not there, I see Hal has temporarily left his space, but Dale, one more opportunity before this would normally be the birthday and anniversary hour presented by Audley between 7 and 7:20. We have now reached the end of that period which we have devoted to the memory of our great and dear brother, Audley Watson. And so we will try our very best to see if we can fill in the rest of the program from this point forward. So at this point, I'm not sure if Myrtrice feels that she's in a position to give us the focus report. If not, we can understand and we can always leave that for the next program next week when we might be in a better position. So I'll let you be the judge. Myrtrice, are you up to it, or would you like us to put it off till next week?
We could really put it off because
Yes, all right, let's do that. It's easier for us to
thank you.
pick that up next time round. And we'll take this opportunity to then maybe delve into the cricket news that we have heard. Sad in some ways, but not as deep as the sadness we feel with the passing of our brother Audley. So, 5th Test match, World Championship Test final on the front. And what happened for many, many months, there were quite a few of us who thought that we would be welcoming Australia versus India in the final of the World Test Championship at Lord's in June of next year. But it was not to be. You know, but this is cricket. Sometimes you win a lot of times you're on top, but there comes a time when the ball doesn't necessarily go in your direction and you end up getting the sticky end. And it appears that these 5 test match series between India and Pakistan and Australia could not have come at a worse time for India, who were celebrating their victory in the World T20 Championship less than 6 months ago, I suppose, right here in the United States. We saw the might and majesty of their play, enjoyed a lot of these same players, but Test match cricket is a different forum. Test match cricket calls for different approach. And after the T20, India struggled somewhat because they lost a series at home, which is usually something that we don't see very often. Only to travel to Australia, and what has transpired in Australia can only be discussed or described in very bitter terms for India fans, Indian supporters, and of course the players. They unexpectedly performed at their lowest their worst. And there were some good moments because the bowling side performed as expected, but bowling can only be as good as the batting support that your team gives. So even though you will take 7 wickets for 25 runs in a test match, if your batters in turn fail to put some runs on the board to defend, then you are in trouble. And this is what has happened to India. And it was not my intention to editorialize on this, but of course, if you've been following the game, each time you watch a match, you look and you think, and you of course editorialize in your own fashion. And one can only say, we feel sadly for India, but at the same time, people in South Africa are most likely on top of the world because they know they've taken the spot that India would have had India performed up to scratch. So we are happy for South Africa because they've achieved something that they're probably will be their first time, I believe, in the World Test Championship. But at any rate, they've done well and they have the might of Australia to face. So in this final test series, India lost 1-1, 1 draw. So in Australia has won 3 of the 5 and take the cup match trophy. I think it's the Gavaskar trophy. But I'll tell you what, I'll back out and allow Coach Chetan to address this particular match and report. Coach?
I will say congratulations to the Australia that they did well throughout the series. They had up and down. They won first, lost it, draw, and came back to win too at the critical time, especially in Melbourne and Sydney. It's a good thing to have it. But in my opinion, India lost this winning momentum or any possibility to reach the 3rd World Test Championship. Remember, so far we have 2 Test Championship final. They lost to Australia on a first time. They lost to New Zealand on a second time. And they lost the track to reach the World Cup final when they lost horribly, I will say, against New Zealand in India at home. And that's disappointing. So to begin with, I will say they were scratched off from the World Cup final when they lose New Zealand. And then because of that situation, there are 5 teams who are in position to make the World Test Championship. And by the end of December, the South Africa did qualify. And then it was on the knife edge between India and Australia. Whoever wins the series, or if the series tied, then we can go another month or 2 to find out who can be in a World Test Championship, because they were too close in terms of the points and percentage. But now the way is clear. Australia and India both has a series to come, but it becomes meaningless because Australia and South Africa do qualify and they will be playing the World Test Championship. Australia will have opportunity second time to be in a final and win it, whereas South Africa is right now, looks to me, loaded gun, and they are in a very strong side to compete against Australia. By the way, Australia-South Africa final will be in England. Yes. So these both countries has the tools needed to compete for the swing bowling, quick bowling, they have it. Yes. We have to wait and watch. For the India, I believe the time has come. It's not about carrying the same brand name labels and celebrities and carry on Test cricket. Test cricket is a longer and toughest version of the game. To me, if I ask me, anyone 34, 35 and above, you should be rested from the Test cricket. Let the young players come out and play. We're looking at 1.4 billion people per population, and there are 200 plus kids out there who can take the Test cricket from day one. Horribly, I will say, not just New Zealand lost at home. This team is not working. After the World Cup, that T20, Coach Rahul Dravid no longer wanted to continue, and now they have the new coach. So the new coach is looking at new team chemistry, and now this is a blend of young talent, potential talent, as well as a few senior players who are holding their fort for a long time. And even they are not doing great, subpar score in both series, they still says, we are not retired yet. If not, believe it or not, there are one or two going away in few months. I will say England is coming soon, and this test squad will be changed because it does not make sense where team doesn't play as a one unit on and off the field. And that was the biggest challenge they had. India did little bit here and there good, but if you look at the standout, it's just Jasprit Bumrah, definitely on bowling side. Batting side, we can give a little bit credit to Yashasvi Jaiswal, little bit to this Nitish Reddy, who made the record-breaking century. But anything else, I do not consider as a remarkable. Rishabh Pant used to be one of the great find during the last tour, where he anchored the 2 innings where the India was able to win the series, but it's the same player give up this series because of his selection of the bad shots, the T20 style. I mean, it's not the test cricket, and that is where I always say test cricket is dying for one reason. This is another example. Not even 3 days, test match is over. Why are we playing 5-day test? For the fans' perspective, if you're buying the test ticket, which worth 5 days of cricket, you are not actually enjoying. It wraps up in 3 days, losing the value. But the good thing is, looking at these two strong sides will be definitely the good championship. And for definitely India has to go back and start working, scratching their head, what they can do to improve this side. And I think it's really a time for those 34 and up players. There are 3-4 of them, has to decide the way for the new players. Absolutely, if you look at these numbers in terms of the batting, especially bowling, they are improved, they are doing really well. But the cricket is all about scoring runs. The decision is always based on number of runs. If you can't bat, you can't win. And that is where India failed horribly in an entire inning. And this test series, I will say 10 innings. I haven't seen that impact where the openers can come out and do well. Not a single inning has impressed that the frontline batsman or the top 4 batsmen has done well in entire series. And that's what the series lost, and they have to swallow.
Thank you, Coach. Mr. Chambers, anything you have to say on this particular?
No, I just thought there were 5 good teams and anyone had the chance to win. So I'm not saying anybody outplayed anybody. I think they were all equal and made the better team win.
Thank you. Junior, if you're within earshot, your thoughts on the India-Australia match?
Yeah, good afternoon to your viewers and to everyone that is on the panel. Australia is a very efficient team, and they execute in the manner that they have to execute in, especially playing at home. I like Pat Cummins a whole lot. And him is very close, and I like him a very lot because when the West Indies beat them just a year ago, while giving an interview, he said that a deep part down in him wanted West Indies to win. And therefore, because of those statements, he brought me very close to him. But the way he captained Australia, the way he marshaled the troops, and this is what Australia always does. If you could see that over the course of the series, they gave different players an opportunity to play. because Australia is looking to replenish their team, but not starting from the bottom. They are giving various players a chance in big series to come and prove themselves. If you could see, they changed several openers during the series. Also, they had several fast bowlers coming in. Mitchell Marsh was taken out and another all-rounder came in. And so what they are doing is looking to cover their base. And this is what India failed to do over the period of time, that they failed to replenish their team, and they are going down the same road that West Indies would have gone down in the latter years of their dominance. You see, you have to have efficient players to replace those that are there. But for that to happen, you have to make them come in the team while those players are there, so they can learn from them and so they can gather some experience from them. And so this is what Australia is doing, because Australia is practicing mind power. And so they are using their brain, they are using their head, because they study mind power, they study the whole neural part of life and what the chemistry is, what makes things work from what doesn't make it work. You can't bring in brand new team and expect them to perform at par right away. There's no way that can happen. What you have to bring in is players little, and you have them blending with the older players and gather the experience over a period of time. India was reduced to a one-man band, and that one-man band is their new appointed captain, and I think he should go on as the captain of India in Mr. Bumar. India has been reduced to a one-man band, and until India realizes that cricket doesn't play with one player, it plays as a team. An individual player can have a very good day and help the team to win, but it doesn't happen all the time. And so what India needs is a bunch of players that know how to play together and can blend together. Australia have, unfortunately, India this time around don't have it. Australia was the better team, and they have gone on to win, and congratulations to them. They are meeting South Africa in the World Test Championship final. Then they are off to the West Indies. So that is 4 tests for them on the chart. And so we want for them to be beaten by South Africa, then come in the Caribbean and suffer yet another defeat from the West Indies. That's what we are preparing for.
All right. Words of wisdom, dare I say, or is it prophesying? Thank you, Junior. Hal, how much are you hearing of this test between Australia and India? Any input from you on the test match? You're muted, Hal.
No, not at this time. As I said last week, I haven't been following as closely as you all guys, so I'm just listening to catch up on what's going on.
All right, we welcome your presence. Thank you. Dale, this test match ended in 72 overs the first innings, 51 overs for Australia, 40 overs for India, 27 overs for Australia. Ended in 3 days, scheduled for 5. What is your thought on this? Seems like Dale is not in a...
All right. Time enough for the bowler to talk.
All right, go ahead, Virgil.
Yeah. First, let me say something about this little youngster from Australia, a little young open bat.
Constas.
Honest, I do not believe he's going to last too long in cricket. The guy, like, he have an anger problem, and if they don't deal with that guy, and he talk too much, and if they don't deal with that guy, they're going to have a big problem with him, and I don't think he's going to reach far. First, I'm going to go, Mr. Patel was talking about, well, he always saying test match is gone, okay? If this game was playing in India, yes, the game will go for 5 days. It's the first time in history that we having pitch that helping the bowler. Everybody want to see the batsman make a lot of runs. As long as you're bowling and ball is coming on straight on you, yes, the batsman will make a lot of runs. You can even close your eyes and play ball. Now you're having a pitch that giving the bowler a chance to make his name bigger. The ball is moving. It's hard for these batsmen to play this ball when they're moving. That's why the game is that's why the game is finishing shorter. As I said, if this game was in India, it will go to 5 days. Guaranteed it will go to 5 days. But it's in a country that the ball is fast, the pitch is fast, and you're getting movement. So we have to appreciate, because it's not Batman alone play this game. When it come to time that the bowler demonstrated, we're supposed to say, well, it's an excited test match game because the bowler had dominated in this series that's going on. We can't always give credit to the Batman. Yes, the Batman is out there to do his job. Most of these guys, they play so much in 2020, they want to do all kind of 2020 stroke. That's their business. The bowler know he have a job to do. Now, if this same game was playing in Australia, the T20 with the red ball, I guarantee most time 20 over will be up, and the team will be out before 20 over is up. And then what you're gonna say now? Oh, we should play 10 over because the team is out in early with the red ball. The red ball, white ball don't give you nothing. White ball give you about 2 over of movement. The red ball give you long spell with moving. As I said, I think they should use the red ball into the T20 game, and we will see a big difference. Maybe we don't want them to play 5 over because the team is out in early. But we all have to give credit to the bowler, because nobody in here talking about the credit of the bowler. Everybody talking about, okay, finishing 3 days time, the batsman is not doing good, but please give the credit to the bowler, because here what happened. If this game was playing in the West Indies, probably everybody will be talking about and the Batman, they make 100, they make this, they make that, the game draw, or somebody win the game in the last day, because you're not getting, the bowler is not getting no assistant from the pitch. So now they're getting assistant from the pitch. We got to put them out there, praise them for that, and stop saying the test game is dying, because T20 game playing on the same pitch with the same red ball, you will have the same identical result. That means we're going to get rid of test match and we're going to get rid of T20 too, because you'll get the same result. Anyhow, I'm glad that India lose. I'm honest and telling the truth, because I want people to know all the money in the world cannot take you to that final. And I'm so happy for South Africa, because I put it as an underdog because they only allowed to play, 3 test match or 2 test match. So I'm always backing the underdog, and I hope they go through, and I hope they beat Australia really, really bad. And that's all I got to say for now. But we have to give credit to the bowler. Please, guys, give credit to the bowler for what they... And the last thing, if Boomer did not sick, that game would be... Nobody know what the game would turn out to be, because it'd be a complete different game. Even though it done in that time, it'd be a complete different game, because it's the movement of the ball that was harming the batsman. And that is how the game ended up. I'm sorry that he did not get to play, but we'd have a different result. I believe we'd have a different result, but he wasn't there, so the other bowlers did not get the help from the other end. Thank you.
That would be because we need a very balanced team. So when you depend, we've seen that in the Pakistan situation, where Pakistan has depended a great deal on Rizwan and Azam, Barbara Azam and Rizwan. And when those two fail, the team does poorly. And so I say this to say that in India's situation, if they had a balanced team with their quota of bowlers, then perhaps they might have done without Bumrah contribution, knowing very well that he does make a great deal of contributions. But at any rate, that's just to bust, add to your point about the player's injury. I wonder if Donna wishes to speak at this point on this topic. Donna, do you? No?
Hello, well, I follow the game when I can, but as Virgil said, kudos to the bowlers. They did an excellent job. And I am also happy that Australia was successful. And I'm also going to root for South Africa at the underdogs when they go to England to play the finals. But it was a good game. And I had to say to myself, well, it's not only West Indies that lose games in 3 days. We have other big tough teams that lose matches in 3 days. So we have to give West Indies a break now and big them up. It's not only them lose matches in 3 days.
All right. Thank
All
you.
right.
We appreciate your input there, Donna. Okay, well, the West Indies has announced a series, a women's series. Bangladesh is coming to tour. Bangladesh women coming to tour the Caribbean. The first match beginning in St. Kitts. Sorry, the matches will be played in St. Kitts from January the 14th through February the 21st. And the women's team just coming back from their tour of India, where they played 3 ODIs. They won 1, lost 2. Sorry, ODIs, they lost all 3 ODIs, but they were successful in winning 1 of 2 T20 matches. So the Bangladesh women will be coming to the Caribbean on between January the 14th to February the 25th, and they also will be playing 3 ODIs and 3 T20 matches. I must assume, or I will assume, that the squad will be the same as the squad that toured India, but Cricket West Indies has chosen not to give us any information on the women's squad at this point, even though it's just a matter of 9 days away. So maybe, I don't know whether Mr. Conlin has any information he can share with us on the women's squad for this particular tour. Anything from you, Junior?
You know, nothing at the moment. It was a rather horrid series, and because our team is on the verge of not being included in the upcoming World Cup, and it's a horrid series by the shallow administration. So, you know, it was not thought out properly, and there's no information on who will be included in the team or what will happen. The head coach has not yet returned back to the island. So there's a lot of things to be worked out, and but there's no inside information other than it's a horrid series. One on the back of West Indies will have to go through a qualifier. They must now beat Bangladesh 3-0 and win all their matches in the upcoming World Cup qualifiers. That's the only way they will play in the upcoming World Cup.
Is this the ODI or the T20s? Oh, the
The
ODI. The ODI.
It is the ODI World Cup, and rather it's a shame to see our team. When the former president, Dave Cameron, was president, it was said that West Indies have fallen so low that they have to be playing qualifiers now. But under this administration, every World Cup, the West Indies, for the very first time, missed the men's ODI World Cup for the past 2 Champions Trophy, despite winning the Champions Trophy in 2004. They went to the final in 2006. West Indies have missed 2 ICC Champions Trophy, Mr. ODI World Cup under this administration, and on the verge of missing a Women's World Cup as well. It's a utterly disappointing result from this administration. While I'm not calling for them to be voted out, but accountability is needed from the shallow administration as it regards to the running of cricket here on our islands.
Thank you, Junior. But isn't it sad that, I mean, in this day and age when we have WhatsApp and we have various means of communication at our fingertips, that you're going to have a series and you fail to send us the squad 9 days out from this series. This just makes no sense. Even if you was to go so far as to say, well, the squad will consist of the 15 players who were on tour in India, plus maybe we may add 1 or 2, but nothing is coming forth from Cricket West Indies, which is a very, very sad state of affair.
Oh, they're still waiting on the yo-yo test, them to pass the yo-yo test, so that's why.
All right, thank you, Virgil. We should also point out that the West Indies women under 19 is now, they left the island, they left the Caribbean back on January the 1st, and they should now be in Malaysia at the pre-tournament camp, where the under 19 women from the West Indies will play 2 warm-up games on the 13th of January and on the 15th of January against Nepal and New Zealand. And this is the warm-up game for the women's under 19 T20 World Cups tournament. There are 16 teams in this tournament, with 4 divided into 4 groups. And the West Indies women under 19 will be in Group A with India, Sri Lanka, and Malaysia. And the series format, 3 teams will go to the Super 6. The top 3 teams of each division, I think, will go to a Super 6 group, and 2 groups of that Super 6. And the opening match for the West Indies in this series will be on January the 19th. The West Indies under 19 women's squad consists of Samara Ramnath, the captain, Asabi Calendar, the vice captain, Abigail Bryce, Kanika Kassar, Zara Claxton, Dinella Crease, Nijani Cumberbatch, Erin Dean, Amnia Gilbert, Trisha Hardat, and Brianna Haricharan, Amrita Ramtahal, Selena Ross, Kristen Sutherland, and Aliyah Weeks. Those are the 15 with reserve: Decorea Collymore, Chrisanne Howell, Anisha Miller, Daniel Mans, and Lauren Williams. So those are the West Indies under 19 women who will be participating in the under 19 women's T20 World Cup being held in Malaysia between January the 19th and the end of, towards the end of January, early February. And of course, we know that the, any comments on the women's squad or game tournament from anyone? No, no comments. All right, what about the West Indies test squad that will be touring Pakistan? We've seen Pakistan in their series in South Africa has been badly torn apart in terms of cricket, and they're struggling. They've probably won one of their last 5 or 6 matches they played in test matches, and it is no better than the West Indies. So it leaves a lot of in the air as to who will come out on top when the West Indies travel down to Pakistan. The squad, I think we mentioned last week, but I'll just give them again. Craig Braithwaite, captain. Joshua De Silva, vice captain. Alec Athanas, Casey Carty, Justin Greaves, Kevin Hodge, Tevin Imlak, Amir Jangu, Mikhail Louis, Gudakesh Moti, Anderson Phillip, Kemar Roach, Kevin Sinclair, Jaden Seals, Jomel Warrigan, with Shamar Joseph injured and Alzari Joseph unavailable for other engagement. So that's that. The first. Go ahead, Junior.
Yeah, when I heard you made a statement and my understanding of that statement is that Pakistan and the West Indies is on the same level because of their performance there in South Africa, which I will beg to differ respectfully. When you look at Pakistan, their captain Shan Masood, also a opener, has just made 100 against South Africa. We have a captain that over the last 4 series have yet to pass 50 runs. So there's no comparison with Craig Brathwaite and Shan Masood there. The returning Baba Azam is only an innings away from 100. You have seen he has gotten back to form in this South Africa series. West Indies traditionally has not performed well in Pakistan. And with an out-of-form captain, out-of-form vice captain and a lame duck coach, there's no way this team will go to Pakistan and perform. What this present administration, the shallow administration, and he's my good friend and complain about me knocking him publicly. What they did was set up the team for failure. You cannot fire a coach with 7-month leave on his contract. You fire him and fire him publicly and expect him to go to and battle and execute for you. There's no way. You can't have the cow in the pen and beating the cow. You don't want the cow and you have him in the pen and you're beating him. Let out the cow and make him go on. But because they are afraid of paying double what they are to pay Mr. Kohli, they are keeping him on and embarrass him at the same time. I don't expect West Indies to go to Pakistan and win any of the test match. When you look at the other opener, Mikhail Louis, had the opportunity to make 100, dash it away. Look at Alec Athanas, had the opportunity to make several hundred, they throw it away. Pakistan is a well-oiled machine. They have a point to prove. They will be proving that point against West Indies. West Indies, I give them no chance whatsoever. They have been set up by their administration to go to Pakistan and fail. What Andre Kohli is expected to do when he stole is not needed anymore. There's a right and a wrong way to do things. However, we must look at this though, if we are practicing mind power. When the first coach, overseas coach that was called to coach West Indies was Bennett King, Gus Logie was the West Indies coach. Bennett King was announced as the coach just before the 2004 Champions Trophy. He brought the team to England, won the Champions Trophy, but was booted out the same way. And now history is now repeating itself. What Andre Kohli should look to do against the odds, go to Pakistan, win the 2-match series, and walk away gracefully like the former West Indies batter, Gus Logie, would have done back in 2004 when he was disgraced, but still took it on his chin, went to England, won the Champions Trophy, and then came back and out of a job.
Thank you for that contribution, Mr. Codlin. Anyone else has anything they wish to add to that? Virgil?
Nope.
No, all right. Well, to put the icing on this cake, I guess I could say Shamar Joseph is injured, Alzari Joseph is unavailable. So we have Anderson Phillip being brought in. And if you remember, Anderson Phillip last saw action in Australia, about 2 years ago. And even then, he went to Australia. I don't recall that he played. And since then, he's been put to pasture, and now he's been expected to come in and work magic. The same thing, we have Mindley, who were brought in for one test against Bangladesh, and he was left out of this series. We had Blades, who were brought in for one test, and he's left out of this series. You know, there's something very, very unusual.
No, a bit of correction, Mr. Eat.
Yeah.
They were brought in for the ODIs, not for tests.
Oh, not for the test. Well, we know Mindley was talked about for the test match. At any rate, if they are good enough to play ODI, then surely they should be good enough to play test matches. Is that a silly statement?
Not on what we are seeing, because though Mr. Anderson have not played for West Indies, he had a very good stint like Jaden Seal did in England, where he was in the top of the wicket takers there in England. And that experience in county cricket alone, which is far above our first class cricket that we have here in the Caribbean, will stand him in good stead there in Pakistan. And the last time he represented the West Indies, he didn't do too badly, and it is nothing of his fault why he has not represented the West Indies, because Kimar Roach has been bowling good, Shamar Joseph, Azari Joseph. So they are competent bowlers that is keeping him out of the playing 11, but him being in the team, in and around the group, must now be ready to take this opportunity. And like I said before, he had spent a lot of time in England playing county cricket, gathering the experience, and it will stand him good come week after next in the upcoming test matches. There's no way Mindley's nowhere where Anderson is at the moment. He's a Jamaican, he's a fella bowler, but on average and on showing, there's no way Mindley has done anything to suggest that he should get the go-ahead over that of Anderson Phillip. Blades debuting in the series against Bangladesh didn't do himself any justice. And so Anderson, for me, has done exceptionally well and should grab this opportunity with both hands there in Pakistan. Azari Joseph deserved to walk away for some time. He has served West Indies cricket well. He has been playing test cricket for $10,000. He has an opportunity now to make 100,000 US. He will want that to start off the year, and maybe that will calm his tempers a bit. So we're happy for him.
All right, thank you, Mr. Codlin. I wasn't suggesting that Anderson Phillip wasn't ready. I was merely saying that we needed to have seen more of him being included in the test squads of old. And of course, if you think that Mindley and Blades are worthy of call up for the ODIs, then surely their performance says that they might be should have been considered for these test series. But we've come to the 8 o'clock hour, and I hope that Dale is available. But at this time, here on the Cricket Show USA, we have 1 hour dedicated to the genius of Lawrence Yagaro, a player whom we admire greatly. And tonight, in his honor, Dale Brown is our contributor, continuing with our series on the Fab Four. Dare I call them the Fab Four or the Dynamic Four, with some revision to give us some information on the 2 Australian equivalent of our Fab Four speed pacemen. Dale, are you available?
Yes, sir, Dennis. I thank you once again, and because I'll just begin by saying this. I did not know our beloved brother. I met him for 3-4 weeks, but the warmth of his voice was most welcoming. And he was so receptive, and I could tell that he enjoyed the statistical presentations.
Yes.
And I will certainly miss him, because I could always see him smiling when I said something that he agreed with. So it's really heartrending to even know that something like this happened.
Yes.
Yes. So if you don't mind, last week we had done up to a certain point, but we did not cover the individual series that these bowlers played in.
Remind
So
us
I
who
would
the
like-
bowlers are.
I'm sorry?
Remind us, please, who the bowlers are we're discussing.
Yes. So we are talking about specifically Andy Roberts, the leader of the pack, Michael Holding, Colin Croft, and Joel Garner. And we refer to them as the fearsome foursome. Yes, so I will start out with the first series when they played Australia in 3 test matches in 1979-80. And this series is significant because it happened right after the Kerry Packer World Series cricket they had reached an agreement with them, and test cricket had returned to normal, so to speak. This was the first time in test cricket that all 4 of them were playing together in this particular series. And never before, as we pointed out, in the history of the game, had 4 genuinely fast bowlers played on the same team. We have had medium pacers and so on and so forth, but not 4 top-notch persons capable of hitting 90 miles per hour in the same team. Lloyd missed the first test, which was drawn due to an injury, and Murray led the team in his absence. And then Lloyd returned for the final 2 matches and marshaled the team to completely overwhelm the Australians and beat them 2-0. That victory was the first ever by a West Indies team, series victory, first ever by a West Indian team on Australian soil. That is how significant it was. In the 3 matches, of course, there are 60 wickets available, and Australia lost 56 out of the possible 60. Croft was the leading bowler in terms of wickets taken. He took 16 wickets. Garner was next with 14, Holding also with 14, and Roberts with 11. The other wicket was taken by Collis King. So backing up the bowling, we had the great Viv Richards, who in the 3 tests made 386 runs at an average of 96.5. Alvin Kalicharan, 202 runs with 1 century. And the captain Lloyd, who, although he only played 2 matches, although he only played 2 matches, scored 201 runs. So the West Indies were off to a good start with their foursome. The next series was they went over to New Zealand and another 3 tests. And here the West Indies were subjected to a very poorly officiated series. Shockingly, they lost the series 1-0 in favor of New Zealand because of several questionable decisions which the umpires made in favor of the home team. It didn't help when our champion batsman Vivian Richards missed the entire series, and his absence left an irreplaceable void in the batting lineup. He was sorely missed. On top of that, Roberts missed the first match of the series at Dunedin, and he was replaced by Derek Parry, the off spinner. So the quartet only played 2 matches together. By the way, that first test match that Roberts missed is the game that the team lost. Garner, in the 2 games that they appeared together, Garner took 9 wickets, Croft 4 wickets, Roberts 3, and Holding 2. Overall for the series, Garner ended up with 14 wickets, Croft took 10, and Holding's frustrations with the umpiring was evident as he only managed 7 wickets, while Roberts had 3 in his 2 games. That series, we have to remember, especially with some of what has happened in cricket world recently, this is a series where Michael Holding famously or infamously kicked down the stumps when the umpire did not give one of the New Zealanders out. And that was really not good, to say the least. And then Croft, Mr. Croft, after being no-balled twice, what he did in his run-up, he ran so close to the umpire and used his shoulder and knocked the umpire with his shoulder. You know, sometimes, gentlemen, we must not forget that these things happen. And we talk about emotional intelligence, but Holding and Croft in that series did not exercise or show great emotional intelligence. They fell and they really did not represent themselves very well. The less said, I would imagine, is the better. Lloyd then took the team to England and won the series 1-0. This was in the summer of 1980. Bad weather hampered the series, and in at least 2 of the games, the weather played a role in the West Indies not being able to push for a victory. However, in those 5 games, the quartet only appeared once together. And in that one game, Garner took 6 wickets, Holding took 6, and Roberts and Croft didn't take a wicket in that match. Croft missed the first test at Trent Bridge, which the team had won, and then he also missed the 3rd match at Old Trafford in Manchester. Roberts missed the 4th and 5th games at Kennington Oval and at Headingley Leeds, respectively. Of interest, Malcolm Marshall replaced them in all 4 games and filled in admirably with 15 wickets in the 4 matches, as only in the 2nd test match did the famous quartet appear. Overall for the series, with everything that happened, Garner was the leading bowler with 26 wickets, Holding took 20, Roberts took 11 in the 3 games that he played, and Croft took 9 wickets also in the 3 games. In this series, Richards had returned to the team and scored 379 runs with 1 century. Desmond Haynes also scored 1 century and was next with 307 runs. We mentioned the batting just to show that they were well supported by very good batting. Then England returned the favor and toured West Indies in 1980-81. And it was a 5-match series, but we only played 4 games. This was because the second game that was scheduled to be played at Border, Guyana, had to be cancelled because of the presence of Robin Jackman in the English team. The Guyanese government, and remember this is 81, they revoked Jackman's visa due to his cricket-related ties with apartheid South Africa. Lloyd guided the team to a dominating 2-0 win in the 4 matches. Croft led the bowling with 24 wickets. Holden took 17, Garner 10, and Roberts 8 in 3 games. Roberts only played in 3 of the games. So together, Croft was with 21 wickets at 13 runs per wicket, Holden with 10, Garner with 8, and Roberts with 8. Lloyd led the batting in this series with 383 runs, and Richard scored 2 centuries to go with 340 runs. Then we returned to Australia for 3 tests. This series was drawn 1-1, with Roberts missing the second test at Sydney, and they made their final appearances together in the first and third tests of the series. So in those games that they played together, Holden took 19 wickets, Garner took 10, Roberts 6, and Croft 5. Overall, Holden was the leading bowler with 24 wickets, Garner 12, Croft 7, Roberts 6. In the game that Roberts missed, Sylvester Clarke replaced him. Surprisingly, the leading batsman was Larry Gomes, who scored 2 centuries while making 393 runs. And again, the captain, Clive Lloyd, made 275 runs. We have to remember these were 3-match series. Overall, as a summary of their performances, the 4 bowlers over 11 tests, we can see their strike rates, how economic they were, their effectiveness, and the workload in matches that were won, lost, or drawn. Holding was the most penetrative, and he had a strike rate of 45.7. Croft and Garner were close to each other with strike rates of 54 and 55. And Garner was the most economical, conceding only 2.09 runs per over. Based on the measurements used, Holden was perhaps the most dangerous, while Garner was certainly the most consistent throughout the series. This formidable lineup combined pace, accuracy, hostility, and variety. Each of them brought something unique to the game. And the captaincy of Lloyd must not be disregarded, because he's the one who molded them together and got the best out of them. And helping Clive Lloyd doing this molding and mentoring, of course, was Andy Roberts. And we have to look at the leadership of these 2 gentlemen who, without any help from the West Indies Cricket Board and with their own determination, really helped to push West Indies cricket above and beyond what the rest of the world expected from them. And we salute these 4 legends of West Indies cricket. So that will complete the presentation on the formidable lineup with combining Andy Roberts, Michael Holden, Joel Garner, and Colin Croft.
Okay, thank you so much. I know last week I challenged you to bring us some information on the Australian dynamic duo, Thompson and Lilly. And I trust that perhaps we can look at that maybe next week.
Oh, yes. It's prepared and ready to go. So next week is fine.
All
Not
right.
a problem.
Well, given the time factor, let's see if we can throw some discussion around that quartet, the four that we've just been hearing about for the last 2 weeks. Let's open it to the floor for any discussion. Any questions from anyone on the panel about the dynamic four, Roberts, Holding, Garner, and Croft? Nope. Any question, I think? Questions for Dale? No, Hyacinth, you're muted.
No, thing. No, I didn't know. I didn't look at anything up.
All right.
No, it's been a very funny week this week.
Okay. All right. Then,
This is
Yeah.
about the third sad news I had during the week. It's just, everything's just gone.
thanks, Hyacinth. We appreciate it. All right. Dale, go ahead. Sorry.
Yes. Well, one of the things that stands out, I hope it will, is that we will notice that during that time,
Mhm.
we played most of our matches away from home. We toured.
Mhm.
And that's something, when they talk about great bowlers and great teams,
Mhm.
West Indies always toured. You didn't come to the West Indies to play them very much. And when these players were firing, and even with the 11 games that they played together, it was only 3 of them at home and the other 8 were abroad. So I think that's something which should be taken into consideration when we are looking at them. And you will notice next week when we do the Australians, you will notice that it is the exact opposite. They play the majority of their games at home and very rarely played outside of Australia.
All right. Dale, we have in the West Indies over the years produced some, quite a long list of quick bowlers. I mean, you've mentioned the Pearson 4, the Roberts, Holding, Garner, Croft. But in addition to those, we have Walsh, Ambrose, Marshall. There was Bernard Julian, Sylvester Clark, Collis King. From your statistical perspective, if we were to put all those in a ranking order, how do you see that order set out? And perhaps you don't have enough time today to do that for us, but you can certainly say that and we can come back to it. But have you ever thought of perhaps ranking all of the West Indian fast bowlers, just ranking them, not necessarily, well, I won't attempt to influence your,
No, right. Numbers again can be very deceptive. And one thing I stand firmly with is that depending on how you choose to use them, it's not manipulate them because the numbers are numbers, but you can decide to use them to fit whatever it is that you're trying to prove. And just a quick thing, for example, you look at Holding and Roberts. When you look at them individually over a career, you would say, okay, Holding has the edge. But when you look at both of them, when they play together, just the 2 of them, you will be shocked to know, Sir Dennis, it's only 1 wicket that separates them in the games that they played together. So for me, if you're saying ranking, the person who looked like he was taking a wicket with every ball would have been Malcolm Marshall for me. Malcolm Marshall is the man. And then Curtly Ambrose. Now the rest of them, Roberts, Holding, Garner, it's whoever you wake up on a Monday morning, you decide to pick one of them. Because you're going to get a great bowler no matter what. But my top three are Marshall, Ambrose, and Garner. I have a preference for those three.
Marshall, Ambrose, and Garner.
And Garner, yes, sir.
And surprisingly, given the statistics we've heard of Robertson, Holding, and Croft, that in your, and of course, I'm not querying your, method of selection there, but if you look at how formidable we know from the statistics of the others, why do you consider, say, Marshall as high as you do in your estimate?
Marshall was a very skillful bowler. Television was not what it was in his time, so you don't actually see the balls moving the way you can see them today. So I've heard persons comment about the bowlers of today, but they don't consider the camera, the role of the camera, the improvement of the camera. So you can see the ball actually moving now, and you are much more on the pitch in the action with everything now. But Marshall would cut the ball. He could bowl a leg cutter, an off cutter, a way swinger, in swinger, very skillful, much like Wasim Akram, who was another very skillful bowler. And they were successful in any condition. Andy Roberts, I think, was because for part of his career, he didn't have that support. And I believe he was a little bit overworked early in his career. And thankfully, he got help later, but by this time he had gotten older. But Roberts was my favorite fast bowler prior to Marshall. With Garner, it's more of a stubbornness because Garner, I think, is just so underappreciated. You hardly ever saw Garner bowl, have a bad match by any measurement. Holding on his day, it's just favorites at that point. It's not to say this guy is better than that. It's just who I favored, who I would love to go in and watch bowl.
So have you ever thought about what it might have been like to see these bowlers from the West Indies playing T20 cricket of today format?
They had the skill, the adaptability, and the resilience to prosper under any condition, any conditions. I would see Andy Roberts, for example, outfoxing any batsman that you put up there in front of him. I would see Malcolm Marshall outfoxing any batsman that you put out there, holding their own. You may get them today, but you'll get them once every 6 days. They're going to overpower you most of the time because they were such smart, shrewd, and guileful bowlers. Those, I think, were the two most guileful bowlers, Roberts and Marshall. And they certainly would have flourished. Then Joel Garner, because of his bounce, just short of a length that he would get up into your chest, I don't see these guys now managing him at all. So for the limited overs games, those three would have been my three.
Right. Is there any one metric that you could use to sort of get the best of any of these bowlers? Any one metric? Would it be wickets, whether it be over rate, whether it would be strike rate? Is there any one metric you think that could define them?
I look first at the workload that each of them would have to carry. So, for example, again, Roberts early in his career, if you remember when he bowled down Australia at Perth in the second test match, when he took 7 for 54 in that game, Holding was just in his, Holding, didn't even play in that game. So Roberts was a lone wolf for a time. Marshall, you look again at the strike rate for the time when you compare it with his peers, and you look at his workload compared to his peers, and you look at his bowling average, he only gave up like 20 runs for every wicket that he got, and he was accurate. And he did it in all climates, under all conditions, and no pitches were prepared for him to move the ball. The balls were not constructed in such a way to encourage swing. You know, the exaggerated swing we see today, which is a product of how they make the ball. It's not just the pitch, but it's also the balls that are being used today. So the metric for me would be strike rate, economy, and of course, how much you are paying for those wickets. At what cost are you getting them?
All right. Well, Dale, if there are any last opportunity for any questions to Dale, so unmute and speak up, or else we will move forward. Dale, we want to thank you for the many hours you spent collating these stats and information. And we certainly here on the Cricket Show appreciate the knowledge that you brought to us statistically, showing us the value and the benefit and the contributions of some of our greatest fast bowlers that the West Indies has ever seen. We look forward to the day when we can look back at the present crop of fast bowlers and apply the same metrics to say how well they have performed for the West Indies. In the meantime, next week, we hope you can give us the information on the Lily Thompson, because Lily and Thompson were two bowlers, as in the case of the West Indies quartet, were very, very, I almost tempted to say destructive. They were certainly intimidating, and they certainly got the job done for Australia. So how did they fare against the quartet in terms of ranking? If you were ever going to rank them, Lily, Thompson, Croft.
Yes, that will be a pleasure, Sir Dennis. And just in closing, one of our weaknesses, if you call it that, we do not read as much as we should. And the things that people use to put us down, we don't pay attention to it. And they know we are not going to look at the statistics. And if we look at them, we are going to ignore them. And what I encourage people, don't try to say this guy was better than. Look and see why. What did he bring to the table? And how consistent was he? Because it's consistency. And Dennis Lillee, by the way, taught Andy Roberts the leg cutter. And they in turn taught it to Malcolm Marshall. So the fast bowling club is a very exclusive club, and in those days they helped out each other. But if we look at what is going on, we see, for example, and I'll close with this, South Africa, their two best wicket keepers played in the game that they are playing against Pakistan today. Their two best wicket keepers. One of them opened the inning and one batted at number 6. And both of them made centuries.
Oh, Steve. Yes.
So we shouldn't be afraid to just simply play our best batsmen.
Yes, yes.
That's it. Play your best batsmen. Clive Lloyd, it wasn't so much about the pace, which we will see next week, is that he wanted his 4 best bowlers on the team.
Yes.
And that's why he went with the pace attack, but not as much as people think he did.
Yes. Yes, appreciate it. Thank you so much, Dale, and we look forward to next week when we will get another edition of your contribution in the statistical realms on Dennis Lillee and Jeff Thompson. I'm looking forward to us getting into that to see what there is. So we're still in the Lawrence Yagaro hour, and we will just continue for the rest of the session with some more cricket scores. We had the Pakistan South Africa series And I think normally this is the time when I would be calling on Brother Audley to give me those numbers, you know, because we knew he had a liking for the statistics and he could tell us so many things, so much like you're able to do for us, Brother Dale. But we have to now try and step up and stand on our own and see what we can do without Audley in our presence. Pakistan and South Africa. We had, they played T20s. There were 3 T20s. South Africa won 2 and 1 match was abandoned. And then there was the ODIs where Pakistan had the better of South Africa in the ODI, winning all 3 ODIs. But then came the first test match that South Africa won by 2 wickets. That was won by 2 wickets, which was a nail biter. And the current test match that Dale has just pointed out to us, where 2 of the 2 wicket keepers managed to score test century. Is that correct, Dale? I didn't get that wrong, did I?
Yes, you got it right.
I got it right. Thank you. But that match is currently in play. So in the first inning, South Africa scored 615 all out, with Rickelton 259, Bavuma 106, Veren 100, Jansen 62, and Maharaj 40. And of course, I will always point out the fact that Bavuma, the captain of South Africa, previously batted at opener, and there were times when he failed to produce. And since he's dropped himself down to number 4, I think he's batting at number 4. Is it number 4 or number 5? At any rate, since he's dropped himself down to the order, he has been producing runs galore. So I say this as perhaps a hint that maybe West Indies captain Brathwaite would think in terms of dropping himself down in the order, because he may be able to do a lot better than his statistics shows doing as the number 1 opener. So in the first inning, South Africa scored 615. Pakistan in reply were bowled out for 194, with Babar Azam 58 and Rizwan 46. And of course, we see that Pakistan were invited to follow on, and in their innings, they are putting up quite a fight, because Pakistan was now 213 for 1, with Masood 102 not out, and Babar Azam making 81 before he was out. But this was the end of day 3, I believe. So there are still 2 additional days to go, and it's odds on that perhaps Pakistan may well hold out for a draw in this one. Not that this will affect South Africa in any way. In fact, if South Africa was to give away 8 penalty points, I understand, or they would probably be in danger of putting their position in the World Test Championship in the docks. But they have to give away 8 penalty points, and the penalty points would come from failing to bowl the required number of overs in the required amount of time available. I don't see that happening, but the possibility is always there mathematically. If they manage to put themselves in that position, then they could end up losing their position in the World Test Championship. Not that I think it's likely to happen. We have Virgil. I know you are a great fan of Team Pakistan. I'm wondering what you're thinking about their performance right now in this last final test.
Well, I didn't get to see the end part of the game. I see certain part of when they was batting in the second innings, and I'm really glad to see the batsmen and them standing up and staying the wicket and bat long, because the longer you stay there, the more runs you make. You know, so I'm really happy for that. And I mean, whatever the result be, it is what it is. But to see they stand up there and bat is to know they have it in them, that they can stand up and bat. Because as long as ball not really moving about, you supposed to be can stand up inside there and bat long. But if the ball start moving about, then I know they're gonna have problems. So I'm glad, and I hope Rizwan even score a century, because him and Barbaraz is the two cricketers from Pakistan that I really love to watch. But Barbaraz already gone, but I hope Rizwan get a chance to score a century in this one.
You think Pakistan can hold out to take to a draw?
I don't think it's going to happen. If you say it's the third day and you have 2 more days to go, I don't think it's going to happen. But you never know. The ball is round. Anything can happen. But I think South Africa have the upper hand on this one.
All right. Okay, so we see in the second test between Afghanistan and Zimbabwe. If we remember the first test, Afghanistan, Zimbabwe scored 586 and Afghanistan 699. So we know that there possibly is batters who are capable of delivering from that. However, in the second test, things look a little differently. Afghanistan were bowled out for 157. Now, I don't know if this is on the same venue, but nonetheless, in the second test, the same team that scored 699 2 weeks ago now struggled to score 157. So maybe here, this is where Virgil's appreciation of bowling may well have something to do with this particular situation, because one bowler from Zimbabwe, Muzarabani, 2 for 56, and Nyamburi, 3 for 42, and Raza, 3 wickets for 30. That may well have had something to do with it. In turn, when Zimbabwe batted in their first innings, they scored 243 with Sikandar Raza 61, Irvine 75, and Williams 49. We had again bowling performances from Afghanistan. Ahmad Sai 3 for 62, and Ahmad 2 for 27, and Rashid Khan 4 for 94. In their second innings, Afghanistan did much better. They actually scored 363 runs, with Shah scoring 139 and Hishmat Alam 101. And Zimbabwe bowlers did very well in this innings also. Mvavara 3 for 76 and Muzarabani a massive 6 for 95. Now Zimbabwe in their second innings, they were at 205 for the loss of 8 wickets, needing 73 runs in their second innings with 2 wickets in hand to score a victory in that test match, which is probably maybe a difficult task. I don't see them doing. Any takers on that for any comments? And I understand that, you know, we are not in the mood to talk cricket, but if you can dig up some of that Audley strength, you know, we'd welcome the contribution. So remember,
okay, let me say something. On the first test that they play, I can tell you that was a Batman paradise.
Yes.
As a blind man could have played that those shots without no problem. But you see in the second test, I think the bowlers get a lot of help. So at least you see both team bowlers really perform, because you can tell that the bowlers get a lot of help. So for the second test, I would have said that's the one where they enjoy, not the one with not the first test. I mean, it's good to have a record they score this amount of runs, but once the bowler is not getting help from the wicket, I mean, I can't see it's a good test match. So I'm glad for the second one.
All right. Well, thank you, Virgil. Now, we look at Sri Lanka in New Zealand. Sri Lanka, I think, is currently in New Zealand. A week ago, they had the second T20 of 2. Remember, New Zealand won the first one by 8 runs, and a week ago, the second T20, New Zealand scored 186 for 5, and Sri Lanka in reply were 141 all out, with New Zealand Henry grabbing 2 wickets for 31, and Duffy, newcomer Duffy, 4 for 15, and Satner 2 for 22. New Zealand won that second T20 by 45 runs. Now we come to the third T20, where Sri Lanka scored 218 for 5, Kusal Perera 101, and Asalanka 46, and 5 New Zealand bowlers claiming 1 wicket each. In reply, New Zealand scored 211 for 7, and they lost that match by 7 runs. So that's the second T20 where Sri Lanka win 1, so New Zealand won 2. Then there was the ODI, the first ODI, Sri Lanka scoring 178, and New Zealand 180 for the loss of 1 wicket, with Young 90 not out, and Ravindra 45, and Chapman 29. So New Zealand won the first ODI by 9 wickets, and the second ODI is scheduled for 2 days' time. Any comments on any of those? Now, Virgil, we see that. Are you following the T20s or the ODI, Hal?
And neither me, because I haven't seen none of the games there.
You're not following it, and Hal
No.
doesn't seem to be following it either.
Only what I can get on Willow. That's the only
Yes.
one most likely I get to watch.
Any comments from you, Dale?
And this is with the last game. Series like this is always very interesting because Sri Lanka, they are a capable bunch, very capable team. They're not a pushover. And New Zealand, you really don't know what you're gonna get from them. But they have a very good team also. Now, Williamson, their best batter, is not playing in these games, but the games are usually competitive with the exception of this last match here, where they won it by 9 wickets.
9 wickets.
Yes, and Will Young is a very promising player, and I also like the left-hander Ravindra from New Zealand. I like him very much.
All right.
And of course, you have Mendes from Sri Lanka, who had set the world on fire a few months ago.
Yes. All right, thank you. Now, I think I need to just go back to something Virgil had said earlier, and he was speaking of the anger of Constas, the new Australian opening batter. And I'm not sure that I see it, that the anger is coming from Constas. Rather, I think that the Indian bowlers, or perhaps the Indian players, or maybe the Indian teams, as attempted to intimidate Constas, who has in turn decided to fight fire with fire And that's how I see. Remember that Coley was fined for the first incident where he shoulder bumped Constas. And I understand that Bumrah has not taken too kindly to having that T20 style. I'm not sure how you describe it, that where he puts it over the wicket keeper and the bowler and the deep fine leg for boundaries. So
Wait. Did you say Coley was fined because this guy bumped into Coley? I don't understand when they said that Coley was fined for that. I don't understand that.
Coley was fined for bumping into Constas because it was seen as a deliberate action.
He's not the one that did that?
Yes, Coley, in the first test, did you not see that?
No, I know the guy bumped into Coley, but
Oh,
I don't know.
No, it was reversed. Anybody else saw that incident willing to speak about it?
No, Coley definitely bumped into him, and it was seen on television, and they adjudged it to be stole.
Yes.
You know, one of the problems with these guys, when they are winning,
yes,
they are the most gracious and beautiful sportsmen. But once someone pushes back at them, you see the real person.
Yes.
And you know, they more or less crumbled a little bit under that. They tried to push him off his game.
Yes.
That's what they tried to do. But like I think it was Virgil who said, Constas, I don't like his technique.
His technique, yes.
Yes, you know, but it was effective for these games because they won the game. But if it comes on into a tight game, he will get criticized for, like in this last inning, the way he gave away his wicket was really ridiculous.
That was stupid. That was completely stupid what he did there in that last test.
Yeah.
But I also heard the commentator was saying somebody need to guide this youngster and talk to him because of certain behavior he was behaving under. I mean, certain behavior of him. So I was watching most of the games in them, and I keep on hearing the commentators. One of them, I can't remember who was it, was talking about his behavior, man. I mean, it's typical. I'm gonna say it's typical Australian behavior because Australia have one of the most, to me, dirtiest cricket in the world. Would just like get up and say things and all this kind of stuff. So it's something that grow into this guy. Like I always tell people, if it's 10 best cricketer, when I say best cricketer, best performance and best honest cricketer on Australia team, it could be Alan Gilchrist from number 1 to number 9. I don't know who come number 10. And I would put my life on that with Adam Gilchrist. But the rest of them, it's sometimes it's just a horrible situation to see how some of them behave. India have one there, the bowler. I honestly tell you, I hate to see especially a bowler or a batsman mouthing off the person that coming towards them or something like that. The one from India, it's
Siraj.
Siraj. I don't like his mouth. You need to get respect. And I said, Siraj, you have 2 for the West Indies, Azari and Steele. And then I realized one from Pakistan, Abbas. You need to get respect with the ball, not with your mouth. And that is what these guys trying to do, get respect with their mouth. And that's the biggest mistake. Let them guys respect your ball and not your mouth. And that's the way the game should go. But the other problem is when this incident starts with some of them, the umpire never stop it until when the other person retaliate, all of a sudden now, the umpire going to that person that retaliate. And it should be stopped because I said, if it was me, from the time you open your mouth and say something to me, I'm going to jump down your throat. Instantly, I will tell you something that you don't want to hear. Because you know something? You got the ball, I got the bat, I got the ball and you got the bat. You have a job to do, I got a job to do. Don't say nothing funny to me, otherwise I'm going to jump down your throat. And then you will see how quick the umpire intervene and stop it instantly. But if the umpire don't intervene, it's going to keep on carry on until the opposite person retaliate and then the umpire intervene, and that should not happen.
Well, Virgil, there's one thing to remember though, that now we have match referees and third umpires and so on, so that incidents of this nature is now And of course, with the use of TV cameras now, it is very easy, very clear to see much upfront what is going on. And
yes, that is true. But what I'm saying, sometimes it takes too long for them to intervene because, like, for instance, the bowler will come down and say something funny to the batsman walk off and turn, and he keep on doing that. But the instant that bowler, the batsman look up and maybe go down to him and say something, all of a sudden they intervene. And it should not happen when the person retaliate, because to me, that is too late.
But remember,
you remember the incident between Marlon Samuel and Shane Warne? If it's the first time I ever support Marlon Samuel, I'm sorry he didn't let go the bat at Shane Warne. Because the first time I ever support something, because Shane Warne was doing, I think Shane Warne probably threw the ball to try to hit him because he was mad at what he was doing. And then Marlon Samuel was going to throw the bat. I mean, that's the first time I will support him for doing that, because Shane Warne did not have the right to do that. And this thing should stop. As soon as you start, you stop it. Give them a fine when they do something like that, you know? And then you will see something else different, because it's the bat and the ball is playing the game. So whoever win with the bat and the ball.
Well, remember now, though, at least now they're being fined and they're getting demerit points and so on, which means that it can
that's good, yeah.
It's taken more seriously these days. Coach, any final words and thoughts before we wrap up? We are just about at the end of our show for today.
No, not much from my end.
All right. Anything from you, Mr. Chambers?
No, I'm all set, sir.
All right. Thank you. Hyacinth, anything, last final words before we wrap up?
Just want to say thank you to everyone who's participated, and sad news, but all part of life. So take care. Have a good evening, everyone. See you all next week. And I'm sorry, I don't know what happened to my thing tonight. It just couldn't get it on. Never mind.
Not to worry. It was a trying day all around.
Yeah. Testing time.
Hal, any final thoughts from you before we wrap up?
No, I just want to say thanks for the opportunity to listen to the knowledge that's passed around. I hope I can pass it on to, even though we are only playing win ball cricket, at least we can keep the cricket alive. Actually, yesterday I did my first introduction to cricket at the Boys and Girls Club, and I had about 30 kids, so I think that's a good start in the community.
Good. Well, we appreciate that.
Yeah, I think Hal forget one thing. I forget to mention it. We give our condolence to he know the person last name. Louis, one of our teammates.
Yeah, Richard Louis. Yeah, but actually
Louis, who passed away. Go ahead.
According to as Virgil said, actually, unfortunately for us in the Barbadian community in South Florida, we lost two good Barbadians who are both support and love cricket. Richard Louis was the president at one time, and Mr. Cumberbatch used to help with all the schedule work with Richard Louis. So we, the Barbadian community, say condolences to both families. And within a month, we have lost two great Barbadians, in my opinion.
All right. Thank you. Condolences.
I was sending messages and we got a lot of details, but unfortunately, we don't have too much time here today to discuss.
Yes.
So we'll recap with this Mr. Ardley situation next week.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. And in closing out, let's remind those that there's still time to catch the Saturday morning entertainment show on the Blog Talk platform, right there on www.blogtalkradio.com/Saturday morning entertainment show from 9 until noon. And you can join them by calling 1-563-999-3693. That's the Saturday morning entertainment show. And from me and from the crew here in the Zoom, we hope that you can join us again next Sunday for our next In the Mindfulness series. And of course, our regular news, views, and comments, cricket scores. Thank you all for joining. Thank you, especially Hyacinth, for staying up late, and Dale as a
Get one quick mention on Richard Louis.
Mhm.
I don't know much about his contributions with cricket, as Mr. Batson mentioned,
Mhm.
but I distinctly remember him from the Carifta track and field games, where he was one of the very best in the Caribbean, both at the youth level and at the junior level, youth being under 17 and junior being under 20. And he went on to represent Barbados in the Olympics and made it to the 4x400 meter finals with his Barbadian teammates. So he was a well-rounded individual as far as athletics was concerned. And I'm sure he was in his other aspects of his life too. So just to let you know, Mr. Batson, that I knew of him from 1980, but I don't know much about him later on in his life.
Yes, you're correct. You're correct. You're correct. When one of you, all you said, he also played for the US in a couple of games as well.
Okay. Yes.
Well-
Good, very good runner. Very good sprinter.
Thank you all. And once again, I
Yeah.
want to wish you all pleasant good night, though the news has not been pleasant for us here today on the Cricket Show USA,
Yeah.
with the sad news of the loss of our beloved brother, Audley Watson. Sadly, surely, he will be greatly missed. Thank you all, and
Thank
good
you.
night to
Good
all of
night.
you.
Good night, one and all.
Good night. Good night.
Good night.
Night, everyone.
Bye.
Night.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Good
Good night.